Welcome to Agree to Disagree, the podcast where two sisters show how you can disagree about everything but still keep that family bond and friendship.
Grab a coffee, settle in, and enjoy the conversation. Who knows? You might even find yourself changing sides.
Hi, everyone. I'm Karen, coming at you from Morocco.
And I'm Sharon, coming at you from Texas.
We're going to talk today about should the U.S. government mandate vaccines?
Are we only going to talk about whether the U.S. should mandate it? What about other countries?
Well, I think that just talking about the U.S. is a big... Let's see if we have time to delve into other countries, but I'm not so sure that anyone really cares what other countries are doing.
I feel like we're discriminating against other countries, I think.
But what I wanted to talk about first was, when I posed this question to you, I said, should the U.S. government mandate vaccines for the public good? And you said, let's take off for the public good. And I was like, okay. And then I thought about it. And I'm like, well, wait a minute. Why else would the government mandate vaccines if it wasn't for the public good?
For control. How about for control? I don't know. For money.
But the government's not getting the money for it.
Oh.
Corporations. It's corporations, private entities getting...
There is so much of a marriage, especially in the States, between corporations and government funding. So I'm not going to sit here and say that they're getting money for it. But that's why I wanted you to take off for the public good, because the question is, should the government mandate vaccines? Because for the public good, that's a whole nother conversation.
I don't think so. I think we which I thought was funny that we even disagree on what the question should be.
Absolutely we do. So historically, vaccines have been put out there for the public good and have eradicated illnesses. They have been illnesses that don't mutate, like smallpox. That's not a mutation. Whereas the flu and COVID are mutating viruses. So they mutate every year, which is why every year you have a new vaccine. But if you just think about it logically, though, like you're creating a vaccine once the mutation is out there, you're creating a vaccine for that mutation. And then by the time you get the vaccine created and you release that vaccine, there's a new mutation. So it's like this perpetual cycle that doesn't quite match up. So you're vaccinating people for the previous mutated virus, not the next one, because you can't create a vaccine for the next mutation.
Okay. I see what you're saying. And yes, for COVID and the flu, that is true. They do mutate. But I would think, I'm not a scientist, but I would think that the vaccination would still give you a minimum of protection against even a mutated version of it. Otherwise, why would people still need to get, the elderly especially, why would they still need to get the flu vaccination? And I think that there are studies, I didn't find them, but I have never seen anything that said the flu vaccinations don't work, that they're not doing what they set out to do, which is protect people, especially the elderly or the vulnerable, from the severity of the flu.
I know somebody who has gotten every single COVID vaccine, every single booster, and yet has gotten COVID 2 or 3 times a year.
Okay. Well, possibly because they have gotten all of the vaccines and the boosters, it hasn't killed them. That's a possibility. We don't know. I don't think that we at this point can say that the vaccinations did nothing or are doing nothing. Which is
another reason that they shouldn't be mandated, because without longitudinal studies of the effects, side effects, and
COVID vaccine was given to like 7 billion people. So I think the safety of that vaccine has been proven. Plus, they had been working on something related. They had been working on the COVID vaccine for 10 to 15 years before they actually finished it when we had the pandemic.
I'm not going to disagree with that, because COVID, the actual illness of COVID's been around for a very long time.
Yeah. So, but taking COVID out of this, because that's a separate conversation of how COVID was managed or mismanaged by the whole world.
But I don't think you can say that vaccines don't have side effects either.
No,
Because
vaccines
there's a
absolutely
lot-
have side effects. I never said they don't have
Well,
side
I thought
effects.
you said, oh no, they don't really have side effects.
What I meant was the side effects were not worse than the effects of not getting the vaccine of COVID at the time that it came out.
But you're talking to somebody that didn't get the vaccine, that's never gotten the vaccine.
Because you medically couldn't do it. You were at risk.
I actually could. But do you know what my doctor said to me? What she said was, it is up to you. And she said, what we're realizing is it has to do with the fact that what we are suppressing in your immune system is the inflammatory response. And that the immune response of inflammation in the body is what has caused so many people to end up in the hospital.
But what your doctor was saying is that these at-risk patients weren't necessarily at risk because of the medications they were already on.
Yeah, they were saying.
Well, that has nothing to do. That has nothing to do with what you just said about that you didn't get vaccinated because of side effects or something. Your doctor was saying that.
Oh, no, that's not why I didn't get vaccinated. I didn't get vaccinated because I'm a big believer in it's my body. It's my choice.
That is cute coming from a Republican whose party
No.
just outlawed
Yes,
abortion
no,
in Texas.
I'm not.
I know this is going to be
That's a whole
another
other
conversation.
But if you have the right as a government to say, oh, no, you have to do what we say and you cannot have a choice in that respect, then you can't have a choice about vaccines. And I'm like, oh, no.
But the government has
So
to.
regardless-
Don't you think the government has to be able to mandate vaccines when it is in the public interest? Because we needed to do
No,
that for
because
small
why is it-
pox. We needed to
why
do
is
that for
it-
measles.
But why does the government get to mandate whether I live or die?
Because it's not just about you. Again, it's for the public good.
Oh, but hang on. If I'm not vaccinated, but everybody else around me is vaccinated, but I choose not to be vaccinated, who's going to die?
Sharon, oh, come on.
If they're all vaccinated,
Well, they're only.
they
You
shouldn't
just
get
proved
sick.
my point.
Just
Because,
proved my
no,
point.
if they're all vaccinated around you, they are only all vaccinated around you because it was mandated by the government. That's it.
No.
If you,
No,
it's
not.
the point that's being made right now. Measles is having an outbreak again in the U.S., but it's because people are saying no and opting out of vaccinations. Otherwise, you wouldn't have a measles outbreak.
But guess why they're opting out?
Because they don't trust the government and they don't want anyone telling them what to do.
Because there's a lot of research. There's a lot of research out there over the last 25, 35 years that are saying there are side effects to the measles.
What side effects? What side effects?
They're saying autism.
That has been proven that there is no link, categorically proven there is no link between autism
might have to
and those
find those.
vaccines. Absolutely,
I'm just saying,
categorically,
there
no
are
link.
A lot. There are.
No, you know,
articles
did you do
out
some
there.
research on this?
No, not that far.
Okay.
I'm not gonna. I have
Well,
a
let me-
different job. I'm not gonna do all that.
I was looking at Britannica for my research because it's the encyclopedic website. It is, I think, a trusted source. And about the autism issue, in 1998, this guy Wakefield published an article in The Lancet, which is what started this whole autism link with the MMR vaccine. So that was 1998. In 2011, the British Journal of Medicine reported that he was paid almost $700,000 from lawyers and that 12 of the children he cited in his article, of the 12 he cited about the link, 5 of them had had developmental problems before they had ever been vaccinated. 3 of them never had autism. So that's 8 out of 12. So the 5, maybe they got autism, but there was no link found that it was actually the vaccination that did it.
That's
he
a
was
pretty
stripped.
Small sample size.
I'm telling you, that's what he put in his article that started this whole debate about autism and the link to MMR. And this is what everyone goes back to as, yes, there was a link. But the reason I think the government should be able to mandate them is again, I go back to you. You are a good representation of that. I didn't worry about you because I knew that the COVID vaccine was mandated for everyone around you.
That everybody, but that doesn't mean that everybody around, and it wasn't mandated for everybody around me because I didn't take it.
Okay, well, let's put you in a scenario. If your grandchildren, are they getting the MMR vaccine?
I think so, yeah.
If they couldn't, if they had a medical reason that they could not, and they were susceptible, and that it would be actually deadly for them to contract measles or rubella or mumps, and we're talking specifically about the MMR, would you feel comfortable with them attending a public school with kids where the vaccine was not mandated? Because then if you say no. I'm going to say my comfort level doesn't have anything to do with what would happen in that situation because they're not my children. Okay, say it was your child. If you had a baby that could not attend public school.
One of my kids actually could not take one of the vaccines.
Didn't have to worry about it because it is mandated.
But wait a minute. But there are kids today that don't get the vaccines. I had to have a doctor's waiver.
There's a doctor's
affidavit.
The herd immunity has to be something, I think they said it has to be something like 94 or 95%. So you're going to have, even with the mandate, there are religious and there are medical reasons. All 50 states have mandates that to start school. All 50 states have government mandates that to start kindergarten, you need to be vaccinated. But they have exceptions. All 50 states have medical exceptions. So if there's a medical reason you can't get it, you're not forced to get it, obviously. Most states, 45, allow religious exemptions, and 15 allow philosophical exemptions, which is just personal beliefs.
Right.
So just talking about for religious and medical exemptions, that allows for herd immunity. That allows for like 85 to 95% of the population is going to have to get it, right?
But even if you add in the philosophical differences and reasons, you're saying if you add that in now, you don't have herd immunity?
I think you start to lose herd immunity. If all the states go to that where it's just optional, you will lose herd immunity because if you have an option not to give your kid a shot, most people are going to say, no, I don't want to give him a shot.
Oh, that's not true. I think you're generalizing. I don't think it'll be most people because you can take COVID as a recent example. I would say the majority of people did get vaccinated, but you still had an option. It shouldn't have been mandated.
Well, does it bother you that the U.S. had more deaths than any other country in the world?
No, we have a lot of people in our country.
No, for COVID, related to COVID. You don't have the biggest population in the world.
Can't find honest statistics out there about this stuff. You just can't.
Even if you're looking at the U.S., the number of deaths per 1 million population, the U.S. is the first Western country listed. It's 14th on the list.
Believe all those statistics.
You have to believe something at some point. See, this is what amazes me. You have to trust at least some of the data.
I don't, though. And
so you don't trust scientists.
This is a whole nother conversation.
So you don't trust the scientists that do the vaccination.
No. I don't always trust the reporting.
Okay. But you said you didn't want to take the vaccine. So do you not trust the scientists that created the vaccine?
No, I just didn't want to take the vaccine.
Why?
I didn't want to put something in my body because I don't
trust it.
It was too new of a vaccine. I didn't trust the vaccine itself.
But by saying that you don't trust the vaccine, you're saying that you don't trust the scientists.
Because I was on immune suppressors. And my doctor said I could take it. But
so you don't trust your doctor?
I just started immune suppressors. Yeah, no, this was my choice.
So you're saying you know your body better than the doctor? I'm just clarifying.
Absolutely, 100%.
Okay, so your doctor said she didn't have a problem medically with you taking it, but you're saying you didn't trust her opinion on that. And you're saying that you did not trust.
It's not that I didn't trust her. I trust that she felt like, and she was telling her patients, you can take it if you want to, but she also said, it's your choice. She said, I'm not going to tell you you need to take it. She said, it's your choice.
If our mother had been alive and had not been able to take the vaccine for medical reasons and was vulnerable and was living with you, would you have taken the vaccine to protect her?
Nope. I probably just would have stayed away from her.
But if you live in the same house,
to not expose
if you didn't have the option of not living in the same house.
No, even in the same house, I can still stay away. And especially if I'm not going outside, remember, we were on lockdown. So if I'm not going out and I'm not exposing myself anywhere, how's the vaccine coming into the house? If she and I don't leave our premises, how's the illness coming in?
Well, because people are leaving. Number one, you guys weren't on lockdown.
We didn't.
For
No,
how
we
long?
were.
For what, a week? 2 weeks?
Oh gosh, no. No, we were on lockdown for months.
You were not on lockdown for months. That is not a true
We
statement.
were on lockdown.
No, you weren't. Because I'm in Morocco and we were only on lockdown for absolute lockdown for 3 months. And I know that it was way longer than you guys were.
I didn't leave my house. There were businesses closing down left and right. Restaurants were shut down for six weeks.
6 weeks.
I think it was maybe 6 to 8 weeks before like something was opened up. But that's a couple of months. Which is what it said.
It's a month and a half.
Oh my gosh.
It's not a couple of months. It's a month and a half. 6 weeks is a month and a half. You wouldn't take it to protect someone in your household. Even if you could, you wouldn't have taken it.
Well, there's other ways for me to protect them, is what I'm saying, than me taking a vaccine. Because most of the times when you take a live vaccine, you're introducing that virus into your system. The one time I took a flu vaccine in my life, I got sick. Even if I'd taken the vaccine, I could have brought it home and made her sick because I got sick from the vaccine.
I know it happens, but the risk of that is still minimal compared to the risk of not having the vaccine.
We don't know enough about this virus longitudinally and enough studies. When my kids were young, they came out with a chickenpox vaccine. And I remember talking to the doctor about it. Like, I don't know, should I give it to them or should I just let them get it naturally? And he said, it's a brand new vaccine. Let them get it naturally.
Well, chickenpox is not deadly
something?
either.
Yeah, but I didn't give them the chickenpox vaccine. I let them get the chickenpox naturally.
Yeah, but again, that's not deadly.
I did get COVID.
I got COVID too, but 7 million people around the world died. So, I mean, it's not that it wasn't deadly.
And you know what? And there were more that died from the 1918.
Oh, you're going back to 1918?
Yeah.
Jeez.
Look that one up.
So you want millions of people to die?
No. But I mean, no. But I'm saying if you look at it per capita, like if you look at the ratio of people, more people died back then than died during COVID.
Because they didn't have the technology and they didn't have the vaccines and they didn't have the medical know-how and knowledge that they have today. You can't compare it to 2020.
So the question was, the government mandate vaccines. I said, I can see it for those illnesses that don't mutate. For illnesses that mutate, absolutely not. I don't see it.
Okay, so that is a clarification.
Money every year.
That is a clarification.
That's a clarification.
I don't disagree with you on that clarification. I do agree with that because I also do not get the flu vaccine. But the older I get, the more susceptible I'm going to be to the flu, and I might get it in the future. I don't know. But I do agree with you 100% that on the ones that mutate, I don't see the point of it. So you do agree that the vaccines that don't mutate should be mandated?
I gave my kids the vaccines that were mandated for them to be in school. So we can go back to that question because I'm not sure that we actually resolved that one that you asked. My husband has a cousin who is opposed to vaccinations, and she has 2 small children, and she has fought the schools on the mandated vaccine requirements. And I have supported her choice. So I think that's what it comes down to for me, is a choice. Right.
But again, if she
sends
her kids to school unvaccinated,
you're going to go back to herd immunity. But
so then kids who are susceptible, you're forcing their parents to not take that risk, and you're putting your ideas, pushing them on them, because then they cannot send their kids to public school because it's a risk.
What?
If we tell people they have a choice, if we tell the whole country you have a choice and it's not mandated, then enough people will opt out that you don't have herd immunity. Probably. Then you're sending.
I doubt that.
No, well, it's already happening. You're seeing measles come back. So if I don't believe that they should be mandated, and I send my kids to school, and I know that there is a immunocompromised child at that school, those parents are going to be concerned there's not herd immunity. So you're forcing all those people to pay the cost and make other arrangements for their kids. They can't even send their kids to public school.
Yeah, see, again, though, we're going back to my body, my choice. So if I don't have to tell you whether I'm vaccinated or not, why do you have to mandate something to me?
Well, it has to be mandated because it's for the protection of the whole community.
Why do I have...
If it's not mandated, you will not have herd immunity, most likely. But that leads me to another question that I had.
Wait a minute. Also, I would kind of start, then we're going to go into another conversation about the measles and mumps being deadly.
Well, I don't know.
Because
I don't know if it's deadly.
Medical science has improved so much since we eradicated those through vaccines. They're probably not deadly anymore. You just handle them.
Well, they're definitely deadly to people that are immunocompromised, people that are susceptible.
Maybe not.
I don't know. That's a whole nother.
I was considered immune compromised.
That's a whole nother conversation. And I don't think you and I are scientifically literate enough to tackle that one.
Yeah, thanks.
But what you just said raises another question that I had, which should parents that don't vaccinate their children be subject to criminal prosecution, including criminally negligent homicide and monetary damages if their unvaccinated child infects and harms other children who are too young or immunocompromised to receive vaccines?
There is absolutely no way you would ever be able to prove that.
Really?
The reasons there's no way you could make that direct correlation.
So if I have a kid that cannot be vaccinated for medical reasons and goes to school and gets polio, that is in a class with another kid that is not vaccinated, that had the polio virus.
You absolutely could not directly correlate that to that.
You don't know that. You don't know that. If you could prove it.
They could have gotten exposed.
Let's go back. If you could prove it, should they be held liable? If you had a child that got sick and you know exactly how they got sick and who from, and it's because they weren't vaccinated, would you want to go after that child's parents?
Not if I believed that there was not a mandate for it. Probably not.
So you'd be fine.
It goes back to my husband getting vaccinated because he didn't want me to get sick. And I told him, you shouldn't have done that. It's your body. It's your choice. I appreciate that you did it, but I would not ask you to do that for me.
Now you're saying that they shouldn't mandate it for schools.
If I'm concerned about my kid getting sick because for some reason they can't take the vaccines, then my kid's not going to go to public school. I'm going to homeschool him.
Well, not everyone has that option. You are saying that all the people in the U.S. that have special needs kids that cannot get vaccinated shouldn't have to go to public school.
I'm not saying that.
Well, they're not going to take the risk. If it's not mandated, they're not going to take the risk.
I'm saying that was my choice.
But you are sitting from a position of privilege where you might have had that choice. But if you were a single mother, I say that because you have never been in a position where you were a single parent and had to go to work regardless of a sick child at home.
If I was concerned about it, then I wouldn't send them. I'm just telling you what I
think that's a luxury you think a lot of people have. I don't think that's a luxury that a lot of people have.
I don't think people. Look, you're talking to a previous social worker. I know that it's not a luxury that a lot of people have.
Well, then why do you? So how do you stop them from having to do that?
I'm just telling you, I still think it's a choice. And it's a choice for those illnesses that are proven to be mutations.
Well, no, we're mixing apples and oranges here. Because I'm talking about the ones that are mandated. COVID is not mandated in all 50 states. So we're taking those off the table. And we agree on that the ones for mutation shouldn't be mandated.
Yes.
But you said earlier you believed that the MMR?
I still think that they should have a choice. I think people should have a choice.
Wow.
And I really and truly, and this is where I think you and I have a different take on human behavior. You think if it's not mandated that herd immunity is going to go away and people are going to die left and right. I have a better faith in humanity than that.
You do. I totally agree with you. You have a much better faith in humanity because I do not. I do not have faith in humanity. Do you know, I did find this statistic. In 2011, 49 U.S. states did not meet the 92 to 94% herd immunity threshold for whooping cough, resulting in a 2012 outbreak, the biggest outbreak since 1955. Over 48,000 people got sick.
You know, maybe that's God's way of just controlling the population.
But do you controlling the population? Do you know, I would agree with you, but the people that can't get vaccinated are the ones that suffer because
Not
of that.
necessarily. I'm just saying that doesn't mean that, you know, they're going to die. You don't know. You don't know how certain illnesses are going to affect certain people all the time. We don't know everything.
Exactly, but that's why we mandate vaccines that have been proven safe and effective for the majority of the people.
Yes, and for the majority of the people, they're going to opt in for those proven vaccines.
No, I don't think so.
Even if it's a choice, to people have enough common sense that they will do what they feel. See,
we disagree.
We
disagree on that because I think people don't have common sense.
So this is what's going to happen. So you brought up the issue about, you said that there's starting to be outbreaks of these diseases because herd immunity is decreasing. So guess what's going to happen? What do you think is going to happen?
Well, what'll happen is people will die. People will get sick. They'll have these outbreaks and it will get so bad. So many people will get sick and so many people will have to die before people finally realize the light bulb goes off and they say, oh yeah, maybe we should get vaccinated.
That's exactly right. Again, people come around.
Why don't we just deal with it now?
Because we can't save every single person in the world. And governments can't save by mandating and micromanaging society.
I don't think that's micromanaging. I don't consider that micromanaging. I think it's actually the government's job to
mandate something,
to help control society. What the government is saying, it's not saying it wants to tell you that whether or not you get to live or die. What it's saying is we have to protect those that don't have a choice to be protected. So we can only do that through mandates. It's about protecting those that are less vulnerable. And I think if you don't protect those that are less vulnerable in this society, then is that the kind of community you want to live in? Where you're saying, go fend for yourself. Don't be a part of this community. If you're not strong enough, that goes back to survival of the fittest. If you're not strong enough and able-bodied enough to go to public school without a vaccination, tough. Figure it out on your own.
Well, I mean, this is going to sound really hateful, but I think survival of the fittest is, what our world has been developed on. So, but there is an argument for that. Allowing the weak to pass on so that
you're going to get some hate mail for that.
Survive. I'm going to get so much hate mail for that. I'm not saying that's what I believe. I'm just saying there is an argument for that. I just think for me personally, and you're talking to a previous social worker, right? But for this particular topic, and maybe it's in a dichotomy for me, but for this particular topic, I think people should have a choice in what they put into their bodies, and I don't think it should be government mandated, even for the greater good, which is what you believe.
Yes. I believe the government does have a role to play.
So I think we're gonna agree to disagree on this one.
Yeah, we do. And that's fine. I mean, I think that we both had some valid points.
You just made me out to be such a villain, such a horrible person.
You did that to yourself. I had no part in that. But I got you to say what was in your heart. It's, survival of the fittest. Only the strong survive. The weak can go suck an egg.
Suck an egg. I mean, there is an argument on that. There really is.
I think it was really good.
Both got really heated.
Yeah.
That wraps up today's show. Thank you so much for tuning in. If you enjoyed the show, please leave us a rating and review. It helps us improve and get the word out.
Reach out to us on Facebook and Instagram or shoot us an email at agreetodisagree@gmail.com.
Let us know what you think, what topics you'd like us to cover, or any questions you might have. Thanks again for tuning in, and we'll see you in the next episode.